Hello everyone. So here we are, day one of Strengthen to Lengthen, my mini yoga series where we'll take on 5 big postures, break them down and flow into them. Today is all about Hanumanasana, aka front splits. So we'll be focusing on the hamstrings, the hip flexors and generally the whole of the back body. Now if you have them, use some yoga bricks for this class. They are super helpful for this posture, even if you have hamstrings for days. They'll help us get stronger and experience a deeper sensation of the pose. Remember, no judging yourself. Rome wasn't built in a day. Take your time and have fun with it. So we're going to start this flow in all fours position in the middle of your mat. So bring yourself into that position now. Hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips, tuck the toes. Take a moment, take a nice big inhale and press the ground away. Arch the spine, lift the head and the tailbone. Exhale, curve the spine, tuck the tailbone under and look in towards your belly. Try and separate the space between your shoulder blades. And again, inhale, arch the spine. Exhale, curve the spine. Now you can move this around a little bit into circles with your shoulders and with your hips, a little rock forward and back perhaps. Our big focus today is getting into the hamstrings, but it's not just the back of the legs. We can't just simply target one area at a time. That's going to go up the glutes and up the rest of the spine. So I want us to find a nice mobile back. And we'll feel the strong sort of differences between stability and mobility and how much they just help each other out in times of need. Stay with your breath. Notice how you're feeling around the glutes and the hips at the moment as you arch and as you curve, as you physically tilt the tailbone up and down into posterior and anterior tilt. Maybe even add a little bit of a side tilt. So shift the hips maybe over to the left, look over the left shoulder, shift the hips over to the right, look over the right shoulder. So there's lots of different directions that the hips can obviously move. They're an incredibly mobile joint and we want them to stay that way. And then over the next couple of breaths, start to bring yourself into your first downward facing dog. So without putting any pressure into the back of the legs, keep the knees bent as you lengthen the spine and tilt the tailbone up towards the ceiling. Press the ground away, drop your chin, look through the legs, and it's really up to you how wide or how narrow you step your feet right now. Try and squeeze one heel down at a time. Let the weight shift left to right, claw the fingers into the earth. Inhale, rise up onto both of your tiptoes and ripple forward into high plank, chest over the hands and the wrists. Exhale, bend the knees, tilt the tailbone up, downward facing dog. Take a couple more of those. Inhale, come forward into high plank. Exhale, tilt it back into downward facing dog. One more time. Inhale, ripple forward. Exhale, ripple back. Now start to walk your feet up towards your hands really slowly, one step at a time, and really hold every time you step forward. Notice the feeling. Step the foot forward and hold it. Imagine you're trying to pull the hips back a little bit every time you step forward. Step forward, hold it. Little bend in the knees if you need to, push the bum back. Step forward until you come all the way towards the hands and the wrists. Little bend in the knees. Hold on to your opposite elbows. Relax the head and sway from side to side. Again, still add a bit of movement to the legs. You can bend the knees, maybe one a little bit more each time. Little figures of 8 with the hips. Then slide your hands onto your shin bones. Bend your knees. Keep the knees bent and pull out and forward through the crown of the head to try and physically tabletop your spine. Hold that there. And exhale, relax the belly over the thighs. Hands perhaps come to the floor without changing the position of the legs. So the knees are slightly bent. Inhale, pull forward and out through the crown of the head. Hands slide up to the shins, tabletop the spine, squeeze the shoulders back. Exhale, belly over the thighs, relax the head. Look in between the legs. One more time, just like that. Inhale, hands to the shins. Even if you can keep the hands on the floor, slide them up. Exhale, slide them down. Bend the knees a little bit more. Inhale, take the arms out wide to the side. And slowly, with a flat back, try and lift all the way up to standing. Arms over the head. And then arms down by your sides. Bring your hands onto your hips. And then inhale, just take a moment, arch the spine as you stand up. Exhale, curve the spine, tuck the tailbone under, shoulders forward. And maybe add that little tilt in the hips left to right. Snake hips, all about the snake hips. All right, so now this next sort of forward fold, we're really going to adopt a bit of a deadlift stance. So there's a slight bend in the knees. And you're trying to chop yourself in half from your hips. So it's very hip driven. You're shifting the weight back into the heels. Now, you can have your hands down by your sides on your hips, or my personal favorite is to interlace the fingers and bring the hands behind the head. Push the head into the hands, open up the elbows. So there's an openness in the chest. And then as you exhale, tiny little bend in the knees, push the bum back and tip the torso forward, roughly halfway. Now, once you get there, push the head into the hands if you've opted for that hand variation. And then slowly come all the way back up to standing. Breathe in. Repeat that again. Exhale, tiny bend in the knees, push the bum back, tip the torso forward. Keep the elbows wide if you've gone for it. Inhale, come back up, and there's a slight squeeze of the glutes at the top. Last time, exhale, tip forward. Gaze towards your big toes. Spread the toes out wide. Hold that there. And take the arms out, kind of like a cactus shape here. So this is really going to get into the muscles just above the glutes and the lower back. Squeeze the elbows in, lift your chest forward. Still keep a little bend in the knees. Exhale here. Gently pulse the head up 1 inch. And then as you exhale, pulse the head down 2 inches. So you're allowing yourself to fold forward with control. Inhale, lift the head up again. Exhale, fold forward. Excellent job. One more time. Inhale, pulse the head up. Can you drop your chin very slightly? And then exhale, bring your hands either onto your ankles or your feet, or maybe all the way to the floor. Belly over the thighs, relax your head again. Bend the knees as much as you need to. They're designed to bend, so my goodness, bend them. So we want to really combine in this series the strength with the length and how they work together to get the most out of each other. Stability, mobility, ultimately improved flexibility. And then walk your hands forward, walk the legs back, downward facing dog. Look at the feet. Little bend in the knees, try and squeeze the heels towards the floor. Doesn't matter if they don't ever touch. That's very much dependent on the ligaments in the ankle. Try and hug your lower ribs in very, very slightly, like you're trying to just puff up the space between the shoulder blades. Hard to tell because we can't see that area, so we have to tap into our feeling body a little bit more. And every now and again, I think closing the eyes can really help. So lift your right leg up towards the sky. 3-legged dog. Now let that right leg go as high as possible. So your hips will open up a little bit. You can always bend the right knee and open up your right hip. And squeeze your left heel in towards the floor. So this is really all about stretching the left leg now. Press the ground away. And then exhale, step the right foot through between your hands. Might need a couple of steps to bring the right foot forward. Now, here's the thing. If you have a couple of bricks, I would bring the bricks with you at this point, whatever height of the brick is best for you, and place your hands onto them. If you don't have bricks and you're also just happy with your fingertips on the floor, I recommend clawing down the fingertips so that there's still a sense of lift between the palm and the floor. So with or without bricks, I want your hips high, little bend in the knees if you need to right now, but pull out and forward through the crown of the head. Try and tilt the tailbone up towards the sky. Now you're up on your back tiptoe. Call this pyramid legs. And we're going to add a little bit of a rock. First of all, try and squeeze your back heel towards the floor. And as you do that, flex your front foot. And then switch. Lower the front toes down, lift the back heel. So it's a very subtle little seesaw. Left heel down, right toes up. Ooh, and it gets the ankle mobility, right? And just add a little rock. Forward and back. Hands on bricks or fingertips to the floor. Totally fine to add a little bend in the knees, but I want those hips quite high. That's what differentiates it from being a lunge to more of a forward fold. Now we're going to add a little bit more of an element of lunge to this. So can you bend your back knee, flex the front foot, and then do the opposite. Bend your front knee, straighten the back leg. So now we're more lunge. Probably feels quite nice in the lower back here. So repeat. Bend the back knee, flex the right foot. Exhale, switch. Bend the front knee, straighten the back leg. And maybe the chest is starting to respond here. And add that little rock forward and back. Let it evolve. Let the spine perhaps respond to this. And eventually lower your back knee all the way down. Keep the back toes tucked for me. Flex the right foot, spread the toes, tilt the tailbone back. Exhale, lower the right toes down, bend the front knee, keep the back knee on the floor, lift the chest. And you're going to go back and forward, with or without your hands on the ground. Keep the back toes tucked. Now we're going to add a little bit more stability to this. Can you start to lift the hands off the ground or off the bricks and hover them? Take that same movement back and forward. Keep the back toes tucked. Flex the right foot. Suddenly we might need to focus a little bit more. So we're starting to connect more with the core muscles that are around the abdominals, side of the body, back of the body. But there is still that freedom. So inhale will help you kind of squeeze in a little bit more. Exhale will help you release every single time. So the breath is there to aid you and help you out as much as possible. Inhale, flex the right foot. Exhale, take it forward. Now this time, inhale, go back. We're going to come into a lizard pose. So that lizard pose is really for the back leg, to get the extension of the back leg. So you can lower the front toes down and heel toe your right foot a little bit further over to the right. I'm going to move this brick. Now it's up to you if you're still using them or not. Turn your right toes out so that you let your body drop through further down towards the floor. So you can have your bricks underneath your hands. You can have your forearms come down onto bricks or just use the floor. Up to you. Notice what it feels like to now point the back foot if you haven't already. So what's quite nice now in this position with the left foot pointed is to press down firmly through the back of the foot and perhaps lift the back knee off the floor. Really up to you if you've got your hands or your forearms down onto bricks or the floor. And you can add in a little bit of a sway from side to side, and you can tap the back knee down and lift it back up. So when you lift, there's a bit of muscular engagement here towards the end range of your motion. So we're in a really flexible position right now. And it's not that we want to contract the muscles for too long. It can just be a little bit for a second, and then we come down. You can always tuck the toes and have the same sensation. Lift and lower. Maybe even close the eyes every now and again. So this is what I really find helpful with this particular pose that we're working towards.
that very often we focus massively on the front leg because we can see the front leg. But really there's this huge extension happening in the back leg. And if we generally have a bit of trouble with the front of the thighs and they get really tired and achy, maybe you're a runner or a cyclist or sit down a lot, then they can suffer a little bit in this pose. Now, start to walk your hands back up, tuck the back toes, start to squeeze your front thigh so it's back into center. Lift the back knee off the floor, with or without your hands on the ground. These props are brilliant to help aid you into feeling the pose a little bit more. Continue to rock very, very gently. Now, we're going to come up into a warrior two from here. Keep your front foot as it is, big toe on the floor. Plant your back heel down. So it's going to be a very, very different sensation. You can always adjust the back foot slightly. I'm bringing it up a little bit. Now, press down through your feet. Power through the legs. Inhale, windmill the arms open. Notice the feeling, breathe in. Exhale, breathe out. Inhale, straighten the legs, bring the arms up over the head. And then exhale, bend the front knee, sort of windmill the arms down. You can have your hands come back onto the bricks or shift them out in front of you and step the right foot back into downward facing dog. Bend your knees like crazy, my friends. Open the feet out wide. Push the ground away and feel length. Find length. Claw the fingers into the ground. Inhale, ripple forward into high plank. Now really zip up the fronts of the thighs. Try and lift the thigh muscles away from your kneecaps. Exhale, bend the knees. Tilt the tailbone back up, downward facing dog. And again, inhale, ripple forward. Exhale, ripple back. Bring your feet perhaps slightly closer together. We'll take everything to the other side. Lift your left leg up to the sky. Three-legged dog. Let that left leg go up just as high as you can take it. You can always bend the left knee, open up the hips, press the ground away, and squeeze your right heel towards the floor. Notice how the right leg feels in this position. Step your left foot through between your hands, couple of steps forward perhaps. And once it's forward, I'm going to do this without the bricks on the second side so you can see what it looks like without them. So you've either got your bricks underneath your hands or rise up onto your fingertips. Now you use the power from the fingertips to lift, pull out and forward through the crown of the head. You're up on your back tiptoe. And now we're going to add that little rock. We're all about rocking right now. So as you try and squeeze your right heel, the back heel towards the floor, flex the left foot, breathe in. And exhale, switch it. Lower the left toes down, lift the back heel off the floor and switch. Rock back and forward. Now we're not about locking these joints. You can absolutely have a little bend in the knees. Inhale back, exhale forward. How does this left side feel to the right side? And then we're going to start to bend the back knee as we rock back. Keep the left foot flexed. Add a bit more of a lunge to this. Bend your front knee, straighten the back knee, chest forward. And repeat. Inhale, take it back, bend the back knee, flex the left foot, breathe in. Exhale, lower the left toes down, shift forward. And again, inhale, take it back, flex the left foot, spread the toes. Exhale, take it forward. This time, lower your right knee all the way to the ground. Keep the back toes tucked. Flex the left foot, sit your bum towards your heels. Exhale, lower the left toes forward. Maybe breathe out through the lips every now and again. But there is control here. You're really pressing down through the fingertips. You're supporting yourself to find that mobility. Everything has intention. Everything is considered. And then every now and again, maybe hover one hand off the floor. As we add a bit more strength to this, hover the other hand off the floor. Keep the back toes tucked. Rock forward and back. So the power is in the legs here as well. It's not just through those fingertips or through the hands on the bricks. Rock forward and back. to your natural mobility and control it back. We'll come into lizard. So now this left foot can heel toe slightly wider over to the left. Rock it back and forward, and then eventually let the torso fall forward. Hands to the ground, hands onto bricks, forearms to the floor, forearms to bricks, completely up to you. Now it's up to you also if you point the back toes for a moment and use the backs of that right foot to lift the knee. You can sway from side to side. You can always tuck the back toes if you prefer and lift the back knee off the floor instead. Breathe in. Breathe out. And now if you get cued to come into Hanumanasana, this front split pose, this isn't front split, but in a vinyasa class, Ashtanga class, then these are preps to get you there. If coming into that full split is just agony for your hamstrings, then perhaps coming forward into this lizard may be a really good alternative for you, so that you're just not sat there going, I don't know what to do, which I know the feeling of, absolutely. Now, once you're done here, start to walk the hands back. Tuck the back toes. Bring your left foot slightly closer in towards the middle of the mat. Lift the back knee, breathe in. And then exhale. When you're ready, lower the right heel to the floor. We're going to come up into warrior two, so we just get an openness in the hips here. Press down through the feet, adjust them if you need to, of course. Windmill the arms open. Breathe in. Exhale. Inhale, straighten the left leg, reach the arms up over the head. Exhale, windmill the arms forward. Lower the hands down. Step the left foot back, wide-legged downward facing dog. Shift the hips left to right. Notice how you feel. Lower down to your knees. We'll come into a slight toe squat before we take the full pose. Send your hips back towards your heels. Keep the toes tucked. Spread all 5 toes out on each foot. Hands perhaps onto your thighs. If this is agony, hands stay forward. Hands onto your thighs. Or inhale, reach the arms up over the head. Breathe in. Exhale, circle the arms down. You can take those circles a few times. It's kind of like a distraction for the toes for a moment. Exhale down. One more time. Inhale, reach the arms up. And exhale, and bring the arms down. So we're going to come into our Ardha Hanuman. Ardha meaning half, Hanumanasana being your split. So we'll come into the half version using bricks to begin with, and then going into the full big front split as an option. So crawl forward, point your toes now, and just pitter-patter the feet onto the floor. Notice the sensation. Give yourself a moment to really soak it up. Tuck the toes again, lift your knees, hips up towards the sky, squeeze the heels towards the ground. Lift the right leg up to the sky, breathe in. Exhale, step the right foot through between your hands. Lower the left knee to the floor. If you've got your bricks nearby and you want to use them, bring them. So your bricks have a few different settings. You choose which height you go. Now tuck your back toes. Start to shift your bum in the direction of your left heel and flex your right foot. Spread the toes out wide. Now press down through the hands. Connect down through your right heel and the left toes. In that position, whether you can do a full split or not, I want you to come into this position and lift your back knee off the floor and lower it down. Press down, root down through the heel and the toes, lift the left knee off the floor and down. So it's that connection that you want through the front heel and through the back toes pretty much all the time. Now you can stay there. If you need to come up a level, you can always come up a little bit higher, head over the shoulders, shoulders further over the hips, or you can always walk your hands on your bricks a little bit further forward towards your front leg. Hands press into the bricks or the floor if you're not using them. Keep the right foot flexed, spread your toes. Breathe in, chest forward. Breathe out, belly towards your thigh. So if you want to start to push the heel further forward towards the top of the mat, I want those back toes to stay tucked. So you can use your bricks once again, press your hands into the bricks and slide your right heel slightly over towards the top right corner of the mat. So we're kind of going off center a little bit. Now, the reason why I do this is because it gives the hips more of an opportunity to stay square. If that front leg was straight forward and the back leg was straight back, then your hips are more likely to open up. And the real thing that we're trying to get here is a levelness in the hips. It's not to say that the open hips is wrong. Absolutely not. But this is probably what's going to get really good flexibility. It's quite intense at times. So ease yourself down there. Keep the right foot flexed, spread the toes. I still every now and again want you to press into the floor or into your bricks and try and lift up from the ground a little bit. And exhale. Down. Press. Exhale down. Excellent job. Now, when you've kind of reached this point and you go, this is me done for the amount that I can go down, you are welcome to point the back foot. See how it feels. Now, actually, keeping yourself upright is a lot for the lower back. It's a bit more of a back bend. What can be quite nice, if you need it, is to wedge a brick underneath your front thigh. That will support you if you're in a more lifted position here. So it's not that you can just kind of sink into that brick, but it's going to give you a little bit more space in that lumbar spine if you continue to use the feet. So I quite like to actually place the hands onto the belly and onto the lower back so you can feel that space. And still we're adding a bit of strength into this. If you've got another brick, hold onto the brick and bring the arms up over the head. Keep the right big toe up towards the sky. Up to you if you've got your back foot pointed or tucked. Breathe in, lift. So this is when we switch on what we call bandhas, these energy locks. It's a lift sort of around the pelvic floor and around the navel. Stops us from sinking, collapsing, just hanging out. Exhale. If you have gone for that big lift, you can bring your hands or your bricks down. Now to come out of this pose, tuck the back toes. You can move the brick if you had it underneath your thigh. And now for a moment, again, you press down through the hands into the brick or the floor and try and lift the hips up an inch. And there's like this magnetic energy between the front heel and the back toes so that this left hip bone, like a headlight, looks straight forward out in front of you. Now press down firmly through the hands. Lift the hips. Your back knee essentially will pretty much stay where it is, and your right heel will drag back. Give yourself a moment here. Everybody, whether you were in that half split or full split, lower the right toes down. Inhale, reach the arms up over the head. Breathe in. Press down through your big toe mounds for stability. Exhale, circle the arms down. And again, inhale, circle the arms all the way up. Exhale, down. Move the bricks to the side. Eventually, downward facing dog. Step the right foot back. Bend the knees. Tilt the tailbone up towards the sky. Relax your head through the arms. Look towards your feet. How do you feel? So it's a big, hefty pose, right? And there are many different ways to practice it without necessarily having to be in that full-on split. We'll go to the other side. Lift your left leg up to the sky. Exhale, step your left foot through between your hands. Lower the right knee down. Shift the hips back. Now I'm going to do this without bricks for the most part. If you haven't got them at home, it's no problem. Flex the left foot, spread the toes. Fingertips into the floor or hands onto your bricks. Now, I do not care if this front knee isn't 100% straight. You can absolutely bend the knee. I want the tailbone, the sit bones, to really try and spread out to the back of the room. Chest forward, shoulders back. Hands can go up as high as you need them to be. If you cannot get the hands to the floor, it's okay. We just got to use a little bit more of this. Hands together, tip forward, flex the foot, spread the toes. So you can always walk your hands a little bit further forward with or without your bricks and press the hands into the bricks or the floor. To inhale, encourage the crown of the head to lift forward. Exhale down. Now this is why I love the pose Ardha Uttanasana, halfway forward fold, because you can add that into any of these positions. The essence of it is to lift up halfway and then exhale all the way down. It's a big one for the whole posterior chain, the hamstrings, the glutes, all the way up the spine. Now you can absolutely stay exactly where you are. You may even want to bring your hands around the foot. You may even have a brick that you want to place around the back of the foot there and really press the ball of the foot into the brick. This is a great, great stretch. Or we start to go for full Hanumanasana. Now remember, I like to keep the back toes tucked for as long as possible. And you direct your left heel towards the top left diagonal corner of your mat. So you might not be going all the way down. No matter how high you are, the same things apply. Tuck the back toes, flex the front foot. Hands preferably towards the floor and press into the ground or the brick and try and lift the back knee off the floor. So this is if you haven't done this already, as I know we did it a little bit earlier on the other side. Maybe lift the back knee and down, unless you're all the way down there. Flex the foot, spread the toes. Now we're trying to keep those headlights, the hips, looking straight forward. And it's the feet that can really maneuver those hips. Now you may want to go all the way down, more forward fold style, or walk your hands back up. Now I'm going to use the brick underneath the left thigh for a little bit of support. You can always go a little bit higher if you need to. Totally fine. This hamstring is a little bit tighter than the other one. Now maybe bring your hands onto your belly and onto your lower back. You can always point the back toes if you prefer to get a little bit more elongation into the back leg. And if you have the other brick or you want to just take your arms up over the head, add in that strength. Breathe in. Breathe out. Spread the toes. Inhale. Exhale. There's a lot more to this than just the front leg. It's your back hip. It's the levelness of the hips. It's the spine. It's then the front of the body. A lot to it. So now if we're coming out of the pose, tuck the back toes. Remove the brick if you had it underneath your thigh. Maybe if you remove it, you can feel maybe there's a little bit more give now. So lift the hips up. Look at your front foot and start to drag your left heel back. Everybody, wherever you are, lower the left toes down. Press down through your big toe mounds. Inhale, circle the arms up over the head. Breathe in. Exhale, circle the arms down. And again, inhale, reach the arms up over the head. Exhale, arms down. Bring your hands to the floor. Step it back, downward facing dog. Straight away, lower down to your knees. Regular cat-cow like you did before. Inhale, arch the spine, tilt the tailbone up. Exhale, curve the spine. Circle the hips, circle the shoulders. Bring back that movement to the hips. How do they feel? Mine feel nuts. And it is important to really ask yourself, what is that feeling? And then whenever you feel ready, untuck your toes, sit your bum towards your heels, stack your hands underneath your forehead, or maybe bring a brick underneath the forehead for some time here in a child's pose. Knees as wide as you need them to be. Close the eyes and breathe. Hanumanasana is such a beautiful pose. It's known as the leap of faith, as Hanuman was the monkey god, is the monkey god, who notoriously took a huge leap from South India all the way across to Sri Lanka in one step. Playful, adventurous, courageous. And it's so interesting how we get these poses and their little lineage and stories behind them. And start to lift the head up. Sit up on your knees and your shins. Give yourself a moment here. Hands on your thighs, hands on your heart, maybe palms together. Head above your shoulders, shoulders above your hips. Take a little bow to yourself for this practice and a final deep inhale and a big exhale. Thank you for joining for this Strengthen to Lengthen series. Check out what's coming up next. We're going to take it into some deeper back bends, some open hips. There's a little bit of everything here. 5 big poses to conquer in this series. So thank you so much for joining. Let me know how you get on in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and share it around to all of your friends. Thanks for joining. Thank you for your support. All the best.